Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with author, musician, and overall creative Beth Pellino. She was born in the Bronx and grew up in Westchester County, New York. She earned a BA in Business Administration and worked at IBM. She has 3 adult daughters and a new granddaughter. She currently lives in Alabama with her husband and their miniature dachshund. Although the Perfection Saga is fictional, many of the stories hark back to Beth's time in the rock and roll world. Her favorite pastime is football, everything football. She is also an excellent cook and baker. Dig this story.
Hey, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. So before we get into your life as a writer, I want to know first and foremost, 4 years ago, this pandemic began and threw everything into a tailspin. How did you survive the pandemic, and how did it change you?
Well, honestly, living down in Alabama, which I am, I'm a former New York City girl. So the pandemic was not, people weren't, there were pockets. If you were in the military, you were told to stay in. I went around my daily life like I knew there was a pandemic. I knew I had to wear face masks, and I went about my normal day. I didn't stop going out. I engaged in people. I saw what my daughters were going through. One was in New York City, and she worked in the food business, so she was considered a first responder, and she was showing me pictures of Park Avenue totally empty. And then I have other 2 in Portland, and they were like, "Mom, why aren't you doing this?" And I said, "It's not that bad here." And yes, there were people around me who did get COVID, but honestly, Joe, I did not get COVID until about 2 Christmases ago, and because my husband had some AFib and he made us go to this primary care place, and I said, everybody here has got COVID. I got the shots. I did everything I was supposed to. So honestly, the only way it affected me was everybody in my family was like, "I can't believe you're not staying home. I can't believe." I said, "No, it's not like that here." So for me, it wasn't a major deal. And I know people think I'm crazy for saying that, but I went about my normal life. And if I had to wear a face mask, I wore a face mask. And really, it didn't change my lifestyle at all. And I know for people that sounds strange, but it's the truth.
No. Yeah, no, I understand. So I'm curious, if I put you in front of a bunch of 3rd graders right now, it's career day, and one of the kids asks you, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
I would say, first and foremost, the best job I had was raising my daughters. Being a mom was the best job I personally think a woman could have. Second was after I had this story in my head for 25 years, and I have 3 other stories, and they ran around in my head, and I knew I always was supposed to be creative. I knew I was supposed to be out in the public, right? Whatever that means, whether it was acting that was shot down by family members, singing, shut down. And I had these stories in my head, cleaning the house, doing things, and I just kept putting them down. And so I would say being a writer and taking life skills and applying it to my writing. So everything that I've done, and yes, I worked at IBM because I became a single mother, and I did well in that because I have a degree in business administration. So yes, I can do that. I can plan a wedding. I can do so many things, interior design. But you do these things along your life because it lends itself for it. But I always knew I was meant to do something bigger. And I didn't know what that was. And so having these stories in my head, I finally, it just came at me. And it was like somebody turned a faucet on and it didn't stop. And I honestly started last April, and I have 4 books written, and I'm trying to write the 5th one, knowing that my book 2 final edits are coming any day. So we're trying to get book 2 out by the end of the summer, because it is a series of 5 books.
So let me ask you this. Who's been kind of an inspiration or a hero for you in your life?
That's hard, because I don't have one person, because I always say we have lifetimes, right? Certain parts of our life begin and end, and begin and end. I would say the most inspirational and the most, I don't want to say caustic, but the most opinionated would be my daughters, because they will tell me the truth, and they will also say, I think, if you feel it, do it, Mom, whatever. My husband, to a certain point, yes, because I self-publish, so there's a financial responsibility on that. Self-publishing is not cheap, and so you have to make sure that the person you're with believes in your book. So as far as heroes, my daughters, but this might sound terrible, but I think I am my own hero, because I have gone through so many things in my life, bad and good, and knowing that I was going to do something bigger. And I think I went on a journey about 3 years ago to lead me to this point, believe it or not. And I just took that and said, okay, I'm doing it. So you have to be your own hero to succeed. That's the way I look at it.
I get that. Totally get it. So if you can meet anybody alive on the planet right now that you find inspirational or fascinating, who would that be? Who would you love to meet and talk to?
Oh, there is one person, but I'm not going to say who it is, because I might have an opportunity of meeting them.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say their name. But thinking of other people, and I probably would go in the music genre, because the book for me is music and unfulfilled dreams in that. I will say that there are things in the book that are 100% me. Things that happened to me, things that were said to me. So the book, all 5 books, have a common thread, and I'm that common thread. And nobody will know what are the true things. I guess I would want to meet somebody like a Paul McCartney, and I was listening to her, she was like a Carole King, who these people just wrote songs. They wrote great songs, and it was so easy for them, because I do write songs in my books. As far as writers, I mean, we have a ladies' book club, and it's usually at my house. And I've read all the romance, you name them, I read them. I read a couple of books. So I wouldn't say that there is one author that I would say, oh yeah, I want to get their input. I don't, because everybody has their own style, their own rhythm, the way they write, and I write a different way than they do. So I think it would be more in the music thing. And to me, the prolific writers, or Taylor Swift, people can say whatever about her, but she writes her own music, and kudos to her. because she's been doing it since she was young. So I think those are the people that I would want to meet. Somebody who can just sit there, and I can write the lyrics, but I cannot write the music. So when you marry those two things together, I think that that's something I would love to know how to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, so as a creative, as someone that's obviously highly driven, what's your motivation every day to get up and to do the work that you do and to be as motivated as you are?
I think it's been putting it down for so many years that this has become my, whether it's scheduling podcasts or talking to my editor or writing, because I'm writing book 5. I get up every day and it's like I am working on what I created, and I love every minute of it. And I would say I want my books out there, so that's my motivation, is that the feedback that I have gotten from writers' reviews, and as you know, you usually have to pay for them, but everybody who's read it is like 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, and it's the constant needing to get that out to the public. And I'm sure you've looked at my TikTok, my Instagram, where my marketing person has been putting out things, but I'm speaking to people because I went from having 6 followers on Instagram, which is basically my daughters, I think, because I don't ever remember setting up a TikTok account. And now it's, over 1,300 followers and 3,100 likes. And it's like, okay, so people are seeing it, but, the translating it. So it's putting this out, this series of books. And I do have 3 other stories that are 100% different. And every now and then they kind of jump off the bookshelf and say, don't forget about me. And I'm like, no, I'm not ready for you. You have to go back there. So I probably have another 10 books after this series is done. And I think that's the happy thing. That's the motivation, is getting all my work out there. And do I want it to be the best? Do I want it to be a bestseller? Maybe not on New York Times, but yes, who wouldn't love that? But just being out there. And because I've married this love story with my love of music and rock music, and it does span, 25 years. So the music industry has changed, and you have to incorporate that in the book. So music is my big love. I wake up in the morning and I turn on Spotify, and I have different playlists for cleaning my house. So the inspiration is, I want to put those books out there, and I want you to enjoy them.
What's been one of the best fan responses, fan letters you've ever gotten?
Well, I would say that there are friends from back in my band days, which like I said, lifetimes. That was a lifetime. And I'm dating myself, but back then we could go to bars at 18, which meant you were going at 16. And I got drawn into the New York City rock and roll club scene, which was a thing. It was big. And I just happened to become friends with the marquee band on the tour, on the scene, and which led me to having a boyfriend, blah 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 blah. So it was a friend of mine from that era who read the book, and she said it was a blast from the past. And then the other reviewers, who you get from an agency, they were all positive. And it was the one person who said, I get what she's doing, and I can't wait to see where this goes. And I will say, too, because it is a love story. It really is a love story. And it's a little bit of a dirty love story, I'm not going to lie. That romance readers will love the what happens to these two characters over the 25 years. And so I think it is a romance story based in the world of rock and roll and all the pitfalls. But these two characters, they just survive everything. And people have asked me, and I will say this, is the character me? And to some extent, yes, it is. And to some extent, her qualities have become mine. It's been a very symbiotic relationship. As I'm writing things that happen to her, I'm sitting here crying, writing it, and I could stop at any time I want, but I feel those emotions of the character. So, and she is me too. So I think that was a very interesting part in writing this, is how connected I became to the female character and to certain other female characters that are in the book, but not as much as the lead character.
So of all of the things that you've done in your life up to this point, very adventurous life, what are you the proudest of?
Well, again, I'm proud of raising three really remarkable daughters that I'm not saying they were perfect. They were perfect young girls. And they had to go through I lived in Honolulu, Hawaii. That's where they were born. And my ex-husband is still there. And I knew for years that I was miserable, and my children had to go through a really bad divorce, and I was moving them back to New York because that was my home, and they were all ready to go. And it took a while to get a judge to let me go. And they had to experience some really terrible things. But once we got to New York and we were settled, they were great. They were already like teenagers or tweens, and they didn't go off the rails. I mean, maybe somebody was smoking pot here or whatever, but fundamentally the things that I put in their head as young girls, they were good. They were good girls, and now they're women, and they're each doing their own thing. And now I hate to say it because I feel I'm too young for this, but I do have a beautiful granddaughter. My oldest daughter gave me a granddaughter, and she's just the happiest baby. And I did not think I was worried about her becoming a mother, but I watch her, and it's like she must have gotten it from me through osmosis. So that is the proudest thing that I have done. And yes, publishing this book has been something that some people say, well, I just want to publish a book. And it's a vanity piece. I don't want the vanity piece, Joe. I want everything. Like, that's where I'm going. I want to take this and run and go as far as I can go. And I don't know if you've seen some of my reels. I've shouted out to some bands that I like and say, hey, look at the books, because I'm willing to work with you on the songs. So I'm thinking to producing songs, and every writer, and this is why I have an issue when you talked about certain writers being inspiration. I have read some books that have been turned into, whether it's a movie or a series, and they have changed it. So for me, I don't enjoy that. I want you to stick to the book. And that is one thing when people say, well, what if somebody came to you and wanted it to be a series? I would say, well, I will be doing the screenwriting on that, along with two other people who I said, you're going to help me write this. I own everything about the books, and I'm not ready to relinquish that to anybody, because this is my baby. I don't
so
know
everyone, that makes total sense, yeah. So everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends, fans, that you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think, because the way I've self-published is it's a team. And I have a great publishing consultant who I interviewed 3 editors, and then I interviewed a marketing person, and so, all these things, they're kind of subcontracted to you, but they work with you. And I believe I have an A team of people who I said, get ready, we're doing 5 books together. It's a collaborative effort. It's me writing the words, but these people with their expertise that I don't have, even though they tell you to open up your own publishing company, which I've done. I couldn't do things without these, and they're all women, and it wasn't me saying I only want women to do that, but they, especially my editor, when she read the first draft, she got the story immediately. She said, I get where you're going, and she was the one who encouraged me when I thought it was 1 book, and they said, no, lady, you've written too many words. This is 2 books. So I said, okay, let's break it here. And then it was my editor who said, I think you should continue the story with them doing this. And once that happened, book 3 ran into book 4. And when I say I have like 235,000 words, it's just now where we're going to divide the book, where the cliffhanger is going to be. And so I said, I will do a book 5 to hopefully close out that story. So it's a collaborative, and I might write the words, but I do lean on them for certain things. And I've been lucky that I've had a phenomenal editor and proofreader who have not hatcheted my books, or the first book they didn't hatchet. It was sort of suggestions, and some of them made sense, and some they didn't understand the music business, and I said, no, this has to stay in. So it's a collaborative, and yes, I'm the writer, but I lean on them for their expertise. And as I said, I have a great team. I have an A team of people, so that is for me, the most wonderful thing, to be able to work with these women and get all their advice. And we all just work together. And some of the ladies have worked on other projects, so that makes it so much easier for me.
So if anyone wants to pick up your words, they want to reach out, learn more about you, where's the best place to go?
I do have a website that has an author bio, and it's the typical short author bio. And I do tell people, whether it's on TikTok or go to my website, if there's something that you want to know about me, you can hit me up on social media. You can hit me up on my website, which there is a place for people to send me questions. And I'm all about that. I'm an open book. I want people to like me, obviously. And when I started the process with social media, I think I got, there were 3 very negative things that people said. And one was about my hair. This woman was just, all about my hair. And I was like, okay. And one gentleman made a kind of nasty comment. And so when I go out and do my reels, and because I believe in positivity and the universe, right? Like, I believe that the universe, I was walking into Hobby Lobby with my mother, and there would be signs that said, write the book or this. And I said, okay, I am being directed to do this. So I always encourage people, if there's anything they want to know about me, hit me up on any social media. You can ask me a question. I'm happy to answer it. But I don't like negative vibes. If somebody...
Oh, I totally, yeah. No, I get it. Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah. And we will direct everybody to it. I'll have all of the links in there. So, Beth, thank you so much. I'm glad we finally got through this. We powered through. We had hang-ups, but we got through it. So thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck with everything.
And thank you. And if the books take off, Joe, I'm willing to come back and talk to you.
I would love to. That would be wonderful. Let's rendezvous and keep putting the good out there. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. Our esteemed theme music was composed and produced by the great E.E. Pointer of Kansas City's River Cow Orchestra. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.